What is going on, guys? It's your boy CJay and I'm back again with another Division video. So a lot of you guys asked me for the build from the video that I made just the other day. I was running 3K Firearms, just had some gameplay of me going solo manhunt, going against the server basically by myself with this build. And this build was hitting pretty hard in the video, so a lot of people asked how it was. I was hitting so hard with this build, so a lot of people were speculating in the comments trying to say I was running certain stuff and whatever. And some people actually, I think one person actually got it right, so I'm going to explain how this works. So for people who want to see the gameplay, there's a link in the description below so you guys can go check that out. I know I normally put gameplay and the build in one video, but I want to make it separate so I can explain this a bit more in depth, and just that's pretty much it. Normally I don't do that, but I just want to for this video because this build actually hasn't been done before. So that's pretty much it. So without further ado, let's get into the build. So I'm running a classified high-end build with 3.9k firearms, 2.9k stamina, and 8.1k electronics. Now let's get into the weapons first. I'm using a lightweight M4 with deadly, adept, and competent. It has 16.5k base damage, and all the mods are crit damage and crit chance mods. Now adept, as you guys know, is getting nerfed in 1.8. You can only use it once. With this build, you only need to use it once, so it doesn't really matter. You don't have to stack adept with this build to make it hit hard. So my secondary is another lightweight M4 with 17.8k base damage. It's got adept, competent, and responsive. I don't really use my secondaries in most of my builds, but if you do want to use a secondary, you can kind of use whatever you want, really. So let's get into the gear. I'm running a Barrett's chest piece rolled into electronics with skill haste and health, and ammo capacity into electronics mod with skill haste. My tenacious mask rolled into electronics with skill power and skill haste. Now the reason I'm running tenacious instead of refreshed is because, as you guys can see, I have 308k skill power, so no matter what, I'm always getting an overheal. Even if I was using vigorous or whatever, I would always get an overheal because of how much skill power I have. So I don't feel like I need refreshed. Refreshed would only be good in this case for my med kit, but I mean, if you know what you're doing, you don't really need to run refresh for your med kit. I find getting the 10% more damage for the 10 seconds is kind of like a good burst in damage when you might need it. I think that's a bit more beneficial than having refreshed and trying to go against Division's laggy servers when you're trying to use refreshed. So that's pretty much it. Now my knee pads are Tactician's knee pads roll into electronics with skill power and an electronics mod with skill haste, and my prototype performance mod is 2% pulse crit hit damage, which I'm going to explain later in the video. My specialized backpacks roll into electronics with health and electronics mod with skill haste and 2 pulse crit hit damage mods. My skulls MC gloves are rolled into firearms with crit damage, skill haste, and crit chance. My final measure holster is rolled into skill haste. So as you guys can see, I'm not running any first aid self-heal mods like every other build ever made by every other YouTuber, including myself. So just keep that in mind. So let's go into the skills and talents and shit. So as you guys can see, my pulse does 35% crit chance and 43% crit damage with a 16-second cooldown. And my heal, my overdose, gives me a 278k heal and 23-second cooldown. And as well as if you want to use vigorous, this has a 164k heal with a 21-second cooldown. So if you don't want to use vigorous, go right ahead. This would lower down to about 155 without the Barrett's buff. That's pretty much it. So just keep that in mind. Now let's go back to the pulse. So I want to show you guys one thing. Now when I go to my character sheet, I have 114 crit damage, which is just from deadly and all the crit chance, crit damage mods that I have on the build. Once I pop my pulse, I get 44% more, or 43% more crit damage on top of the 114 that I have. So I'm basically maxing out my crit damage in one pulse. And then my crit chance, as you guys can see, is 11% on sheet. But as soon as I pop my pulse, I'll have 35% from the crit chance, and then you count in adept, which gives me the other 7% or 7.5% or whatever. So that puts me at basically max crit chance and max crit damage as soon as I pop my pulse. And I'm maxing out, and that's why my crits hit so hard, because I'm basically critting almost every other shot or whatever, and then I'm hitting like 14-15k crits, and if I were to use booster I'd be hitting around 17-18k crits. So if you do want to use the vigorous, you can, and it would work. Now the reason I use Barrett's instead is because when I do pop just my, I'll get the extra 5% damage, so that also helps my pulse hit harder. It gives me the extra base damage to my guns, as well as tenacious. You add all that shit up and you hit hard, like it's crazy. So that is what I'm using to hit so hard. You do have to hit your shots. Like if you don't hit your shots, this build won't fucking work. Like I'm gonna point that out right now. You need to hit your shots. So if you don't have your aim on point, or even decent aim, you might not want to run this build. But if you have decent aim and you can hit most of your shots, then this build is super beneficial. So that's pretty much it. So as you guys can see, all the stats I'm going to show you guys. 11 crit chance, 114 crit damage, which is basically maxed out, and then 37 skill haste. Now you might want to try and get the skill haste as high as you possibly can. You can get it to maximum of 40, so try and get those skill haste rolls on your actual gear, like the Barrett's chest piece and the gloves and the holster. Try to get those maxed out so you can have 40% skill haste, and the cooldowns will be at around 14.5 seconds if you get that all maxed out, which is pretty good. So that's pretty much it for the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay from the last video. This build is, if the right player uses it, it's crazy. You can hit hard, you can survive a lot, and it's crazy. It's never been done for build, and it's honestly, it's a fun build. So that's pretty much it. It's been your boy CJ. I hope you guys enjoyed the build and the gameplay. If you like the build, if you try it out and it works for you, definitely leave a comment and leave a like on the video. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the PTS whenever that shit comes. It's been your boy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And I'm out. Peace.